I want to dive into this. This is sort of the big thing. And what we're going to talk about here, we're going to talk about this New York Times article. There's this New York Times article that says Americans are realizing that Tesla isn't the only electric car. I think other electric cars have been around for a while. And the thing is that functionally, from a practical standpoint, Tesla still is the only electric car of significance. So we'll see what they do in the article. The Mustang, Ford has the Mustang Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning. They're very low volume vehicles. Just for background, Tesla's currently producing at a pace of 2 million vehicles a year. Ford, maybe 100,000 a year electric vehicles. Volkswagen, I think Volkswagen is producing more globally, but their vehicles aren't really competitive. Rivian is producing far less than that pace. Lucid, much, much less than that. Nobody else is producing EVs in volume. So keep that. That's sort of like the fundamental problem with this article is, yeah, there are other electric cars. And some of them are good. I personally think the Mustang Mach-E is a pretty good car. I think the Rivian R1T and R1S are pretty good cars, but they're not producing them in volume and they're not producing them at a profit. They're not making money on their cars. So this is the start of the article. Not long ago, Tesla's electric vehicles were far and away the best on the market. No, that's not long ago. That's still true that Tesla's electric vehicles are far and away the best on the market. The idea that some other EV has come along that is now better than Tesla cars is just absolutely silly. If you wanted a stylish, long range, easy to charge, and feature packed EV, Elon Musk would be your most likely supplier, even if you hated his guts. Why bring that up? Why you like right at the bat, right at the get go, they go in with hating Elon. Like this guy, what is his name? Uh, Farhad Manju has apparently hated Elon. Like Elon's living rent free in a lot of people's heads. But in the past year, I test drove many fantastic new EVs that hit the market in 2021 and 2022. Cheap ones, expensive ones, blah, blah, blah. Ford's F-150 Lightning, the electric version of the longtime best-selling vehicle, and its Mustang were terrific inside and out, nicely designed, roomy, and fun to drive. I'm not sure the F-150 Lightning is that fun to drive. And look, Tesla doesn't have a Cybertruck yet, so the F-150 Lightning doesn't really compete with that. Everything I'm hearing, the Rivian R1T is a better vehicle than the F-150 Lightning. Now, the F-150 Lightning is larger. I think it has a bigger bed. I think it can maybe hold more payload. Maybe it can tow more. What I'm hearing is the F-150 Lightning is really terrible if you're towing in terms of range. Like you're lucky if you get 100 miles range towing with an F-150 Lightning. That's not particularly impressive. They don't really have the range that Tesla vehicles have. They don't really have the advantages that Tesla vehicles have. Terrific inside, nicely designed, roomy, and fun to drive. Yeah, but is it better than a Model Y? Like, really? You think a Mustang Mach-E? It's funny he didn't call it the Mustang Mach-E. He called it the Mustang. You think the Mustang is more fun to drive than a Model Y or a Model 3? Are you kidding? I think it's a good car to drive, but I don't think it's more fun. It's not. It doesn't accelerate as fast. It doesn't. It doesn't have the range. And you get into the supercharging network and stuff like that. The Kia EV6's striking futuristic exterior had strangers stopping to ask what cool ride I was driving. Okay, well, how many of them are they making? Well, and that's the Ford F-150 Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E. I think they're on pace for maybe 50,000 a year. Tesla's, Model Y is on pace for like 1.5 million a year. This year, Tesla will deliver 1.5 million Model Ys this year worldwide. And the Mustang Mach-E, which I guess is a competitor, will deliver 50,000, maybe 100,000 vehicles this year, 2023, I mean. It's like you're a footnote. You're not really in the game, and they're losing money on them, right? In order to make money on these vehicles, you have to produce them at enough scale to absorb the cost of the factory and the cost of the R&D that went into making the vehicle. And you're not going to get that at 50,000 vehicles a year. Tesla's making 1.5 million Model Ys. They're really scaling and getting a lot of return on that. There are also great models by Chevy, Mercedes, and Rivian. Chevy Bolt is a great car. The Mercedes EQS is pretty cool, but it doesn't have the range of the Model S. It doesn't have the performance of the Model S or the Model S Plaid. Rivian's pretty cool, but they're struggling to make them in volume, and they're losing a ton of money. And this is one of those things. We're headed into an economic recession, and a lot of these companies are going to be in trouble. Although I like the Teslas I drove, the uber expensive Model S Plaid can launch from 0 to 60 in about 2 seconds with terrific fun. The truth is that many of the best electric wheels on the market today are not made by Musk. No, I mean, it's true that there are other good electric vehicles that are on the market, but they're not better. That's just silly. The new competition makes Musk's recent role as the town crier for the red-pilled online right especially puzzling. So this is, Elon is a moderate. Elon is he endorsed Andrew Yang. He hasn't backed off on his belief in universal basic income, which, as far as I'm concerned, is communism. That's straight Marxism. The red-pilled online right. This is the thing. If you're left, if you're left, everyone you disagree with is right. These guys classify Glenn Greenwald and Matt Taibbi as right wing, and Michael Schellenberger as right wing. These are not right wing people. These are left wing journalists, and anybody. If this is the modern left, is anybody I disagree with is an extremist. So Ron DeSantis, I'm in Florida right now. I'm a fan of Governor Ron DeSantis. I think he's done a good job. I'll probably change my mind on him at some point, but he's done a good job. Ron DeSantis won Florida 60-40 when the previous election was 50-50. He took a 50-50 state and he got a substantial number of Democrats to vote for him. Does that sound like a right-wing extremist? Do you think that 20% of Florida just suddenly became extreme right wing? Like all these Democrats in Florida just suddenly adopted the right wing? How did he get 60% of the vote without some Democrats voting for him? But anybody that they don't like is right wing. It's nonsense. And Musk's chaotic and polarizing tenure as Twitter's chief executive, this is like you're outside. Look, he came in and he's shaking up Twitter, during which he's embraced far-right tropes about gender and journalism and public health. Like, wait a minute. Let me see if I got this straight. Believing that there's two genders is now far-right, right? Like, Barack Obama, when he was campaigning for president, said that he believed marriage was between a man and a woman. Was Barack Obama far-right in 2008? Was Hillary Clinton, when Hillary Clinton said she believed that marriage was between a man and a woman, was she far-right then? Or has the center shifted, or has the left, people on the left just believe, and this actually happened in Earl was talking to Elon on this Twitter space. The video tomorrow. If you are a supporter, by the way, please consider supporting me here on the Locals platform. If you are a paying supporter, I posted today a link to a video that you can see today for early access that will be public tomorrow. And part of that is Earl claiming that he's a centrist, the guy who's advocating that you should force people to use you can force people to use your pronouns is a centrist. And then LGBTQ, whatever, that transgender is normal. Look, I support. I have family members who are gay, and I support their right to be gay. I have family members who passionately believe in the rights of transgender, and I believe in your right to be transgender. I don't believe in your right to force me to adopt your beliefs. I believe in your right to be who you want to be, who you feel you need to be, whatever, however you want to define it. But that doesn't mean you can control my language. You can't change the definition of the word normal. This is one of my beefs. I had this conversation with my child. My child is a very big believer in the LGBTQ plus story. And I said, listen, I support people's right to be transgender, but don't tell me it's normal. Don't change the meaning of words to get where you're going. So this idea that far right tropes about gender and journalism and public health. So wait. Far right tropes about public health, like the vaccines really didn't do what you told us they were going to do, and masks don't work. Which masks don't work was science until COVID. There's so much here, and this, by the way, is the kind of thing that I would get censored on YouTube for saying in the past, and might still get censored on YouTube for saying. So I don't say this stuff on YouTube. I can say this stuff. This is why I'm on the Daily Lie, right? This is the Daily Lie, WarrenRedlick.locals.com. The reason I'm on here is because I felt I was being censored on YouTube, and Patreon was censoring people, and Twitter at the time was censoring people, and I got banned from Facebook for saying some things. So I love the Locals platform because I can say what I think and not worry about it. So, this is the New York Times defining itself as the center, and anybody who disagrees with them is far right. Just to be clear, I did not get vaccinated. I tried to stop my children from getting vaccinated. I didn't try hard. I tried to persuade my children to not get vaccinated, and I failed. And I discouraged my children from wearing masks where appropriate. And I did not wear masks whenever I could avoid it, including like walking through airports. Even though in theory you were supposed to wear a mask, I did not wear a mask in airports. I would wear it on the plane as much as I had to because I didn't want to cause trouble for the flight attendants. but I would avoid wearing the mask as much as possible on the plane, and I absolutely did not wear masks pretty much anywhere I went. And I guess that makes me right wing. I'm a libertarian. I don't like the Republican Party. I'm technically a registered Democrat, but and generally behaved like a rich bully on a power trip. Already seems to be bad. Like the definitely like this is the media trying to define Elon Musk, and what they miss is Elon has 122 million followers on Twitter, and Elon's done a lot of good things in his life. And a lot of us, like you can say this, you can talk shit about Elon all you want. It's not going to work on me. It worked on Earl. Like Earl is it's only unfortunate things is that Earl built a following, right? And Gary and Ross built followings. And when they shit on Elon, they're shitting on Elon and they have some sort of additional credibility with their audiences. And that I think is damaging to Elon and damaging to the brand. Wall Street Journal reported last month on a survey by Morning Consult showing that perceptions of Tesla have been falling steadily since May. So Morning Consult is some bullshit polling company that I never heard of before that did not release the crosstabs from their survey. They didn't release the underlying data from their survey. I think they surveyed 200 people. We don't know how they chose the people. We don't know what questions they asked them. They just came out with a story, and the Wall Street Journal ran with. This is the thing: the media will now run with anything that can make Tesla look bad and can make Elon look bad. It doesn't make it true. Between October and November, the period when Musk took ownership of Twitter, sentiment among Democrats toward Tesla plummeted while favorability among Republicans rose slightly. Again, this is from this bullshit survey. We have no idea the reliability of the survey. And, the Wall Street Journal and New York Times are not bothering to say, did they ask for crosstabs? Did they go to Morning Consult and say, we want to see your underlying data before we report on this? No, because it gave them the free headline to shoot at Elon and Tesla and get clicks. Nobody cares. And then this is where Ross really pisses me off. Ross says he's talking people out of buying the cars they want to buy. Ross Gerber, CEO of Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management, told me. So this is Ross creating the story, right? Instead of, there being a story that people are not buying Teslas, Ross is telling the story. He's been needling Musk on Twitter over Tesla's terrible stock market performance this year. Gerber says is due almost entirely to Musk's focus on Twitter and his overt embrace of partisan politics. Sure, the market's down a lot. Look, Rivian and Lucid are down more than Tesla. Are they down because of Musk's focus on Twitter and his embrace of partisan politics? Elon said he wanted he wanted the government to be split between Republican and Democrat because if it was all one party, that would be bad. Is that partisan? Tesla sales and profits remain strong as production capacity keeps ramping up and is likely to benefit greatly from tax credits, but its success could get sidelined by Musk's tweets. I don't care if you're selling pizza or popcorn, whatever you sell, getting into politics with customers never wins. Elon doesn't get into politics with customers. Ross is pushing his story on customers. Ross is pushing his story. Ross is going to the New York Times and other media. He was on CNBS, that Stephen Mark Ryan calls it CNBS, CNBC, whatever. Ross is on these platforms pushing this story. Ross is the one pushing the story. Ross is the one telling people that Elon's politics is bad for Tesla. It's disturbing. This is really a backstab, and it's disappointing in Ross. And Ross, I think Ross did not fare well in the Twitter space. He had a couple of really bad moments, and Elon kind of shot him down a bit. And of course, they tell the story. Well, people are saying this is a Ross and Gary lie. People are saying this is a problem. No, you're saying it's a problem. You're saying other people are saying it's a problem. Who are these people? Where's the evidence? Well, I talked to some dude. Well, I took my Plaid Model X to it's a Brazilian martial arts place thing called Capoeira. My friend has this martial arts thing, and he was doing this thing with Santa and what's the one's name from Let It Go? Santa and Elsa and the Grinch. And he asked me to bring my Model X Plaid. So I bring the X Plaid. There's like 11 children crawling all over the car. The parents are asking me, what are the parents asking about Elon's politics? No, they're asking me about range and they're asking about how long it takes to charge. The standard questions we've always got. This is nonsense. Anyway, he says, a few weeks ago, I test drove Chevy's new Bolt EUV, the squad electric crossover that's the slightly larger cousin of the Bolt EV. I was bowled over by the new Bolt. It's surprisingly roomy, much nicer on the inside, and then it stayed interior suggest. And as far as I can tell, the Bolt EUV is a decent car, right? It felt more like a normal car than much as all touchscreen automotive design style. Okay. Which means it's more complicated to manufacture because you got all these buttons you got to put together, right? In the Bolt, you control the air conditioning and other systems with hefty buttons and knobs that are easy to find and manipulate while you're driving. In a Tesla, almost everything is controlled by touching a big screen mounted in the center console. Or you can tap the button and say, I'm cold. You can tap the microphone button and say, I'm cold, and the car will get 3 degrees warmer. Or you can say, I'm hot, and the car will get 3 degrees cooler. And Teslas all have heated seats, heated front seats. I think maybe heated front and rear seats. Does the Bolt EUV have heated seats? I don't know. The Bolt EUV, honestly, is an uninspiring car. It's fine. It's a decent EV. I'm glad Chevy's making it. I don't think they're making money on them. I don't think they're making them in volume. They've been struggling with their EV production for a while. Oh, Mark Plot says the Chevy Bolt is 80% made by LG. I don't know that. Um, Ross immediately quibbled on Twitter Spaces when Elon was on. Yeah, one of the things that happened on the Twitter Space, by the way, is I didn't cover this in my video. Again, if you're a supporter, you can see tomorrow's video today. It's early access. Please consider supporting me here on the Locals platform. Ross and Gary didn't say anything while Elon was on. They both started shit talking Elon after he was off. As soon as it was over, which is not in my video, you got to go to the Twitter Space, find it, and see that after it was over, then they started trashing Elon, right? But while he's on, like Ross is telling him how he loves Elon and everything else, but behind his back, he's saying all kinds of shit about him. And Gary claims that he tried to speak. He had his hand up, but there's a clip.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Gary versus Elon.
No, we're not doing that.
Which I put on Twitter, and it's the start of my video, where Omar invited Gary to do a Gary versus Elon, and Gary said, no, we're not doing that. Omar invited him to speak, and he said no. Right at the beginning, he invited Gary to speak, and Gary said no. So, but as soon as Elon's gone, Ross talks shit about him. Gary talks shit about him. So the best thing about Chevy's Bolt EUV, the model which I tried, carries a sales price of just under $38,000. Tesla's cheapest car, the Model 3, sells for upward of $45,000. Yeah, but Tesla actually makes money on the car, and they can cut the price if they have to. And the Model 3 is a much better car than the Bolt. He said, with such great alternatives that carry none of Musk's political baggage, why does Elon keep acting as if customers have no choices if he's the only game in town? How many Bolts are they going to make? The Model 3, Tesla's going to make like 500,000 a year. Right? How many Bolts are they going to make? And do you really think that a Chevy Bolt EUV is comparable to a Model 3? The Model 3 drives like a sports car. The Bolt EUV drives like a piece of junk. I mean, it's okay. I think it's better than a gas car. I think it has, much higher fire risk than a Tesla. The Chevys had all kinds of problems with their Bolts. They're using the wrong kind of batteries. There's all kinds of issues with Chevy. And this is completely uncritical. Like he has no criticism for the Bolt. Like, have you seen a picture of a Bolt? That's kind of, what did Elon say when they were talking about some car? He's like, have you seen their car? It's not that special. And GM's fantastic driver assistance program, Super Cruise. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the one that can't make turns on a highway. Sure. Yeah, tell me about that. I got FSD beta. Tell me about that. Autopilot on the highway is way better than that. Tesla autopilot on the highway is way better than that. Tesla's new vulnerability is a surprising development. So this is one of those things. This is one of those theories. It's Goebbels' theory of propaganda. If you repeat a lie enough, people will start to believe it. So Tesla's new vulnerability is a surprising development. There's no vulnerability. There is no vulnerability. There's no problem here. There's a vulnerability to macroeconomics, which this article doesn't talk about at all. But at its towering peak last fall, Musk car company had a stock market value of more than $1 trillion. While Raul Maverick, blah, blah, blah. Tesla's once moshed investments in building its own software result in record sales. So here's some good news about Tesla. And then, inexplicably, Musk turned to Twitter and pushed Tesla off a cliff. This year, as he sold tens of billions of dollars of Tesla to finance the Twitter deal, Tesla's shares plummeted by more than 60%. Its slump is deeper than most of its rivals and far more than of the S&P 500. Now, wait a minute. Wait. Okay, so it's more than the S&P 500. Sure. But Rivian, how do you define Tesla's rivals? Rivian is down much more than Tesla. Lucid is down much more than Tesla. Arcimoto is down like 95% or something like that. The pure EV players are all down much more than Tesla. So who is it that's not down more than Tesla, and why? Well, Chevy and Ford, because their stocks sucked in the first place. But all of these companies are facing macroeconomic challenges going forward. And Tesla buyers, my thesis, like, I can't prove it. I'm fairly confident I'm correct that Tesla's stock started falling and people who bought on margin started getting margin calls. And then you start getting selling pressure from people who face margin calls. And that just pushes more sales and more sales and more sales. And the selling pressure is huge. And then buyers are just sort of waiting to see where the floor is. Yeah, and I think we're going to see, with what's coming with the macroeconomics, and I discussed that more. And Elon discusses that more in the video that's public tomorrow. Again, please support me on the Lucid platform here on the Daily Lie, and you can see it today. Um, the macro is going to kill everybody that sells anything based on debt. If the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates, then borrowing is going to cost more money, and car payment that was $300 a month becomes $400 a month. And you're going to see more and more people struggling to buy cars. And this is going to hurt gas cars the most because next year, the Inflation Reduction Act tax credit is going to lower the cost of most Teslas by $7,500. And that'll happen for the other EV makers if they're under $55,000 for sedans, $80,000 for SUVs and pickups. But it only helps them if they can make enough cars to take advantage of it. Tesla can make a high volume of cars and really take advantage of this tax credit. And it doesn't help internal combustion engine cars. So a Tesla that's competing with, let's say, a BMW, let's say a Model Y is competing with a BMW 5 Series, and they're both, let's say, $50,000. I'm making up numbers, but let's say they're let's say they're $60,000. Now the Model Y drops to 52,000. The BMW is still 60,000, right? And then you give the Model Y, let's say Tesla says, you know what, we're going to cut our prices by 15% as well because we got 30% margins, and now the price falls to like 45,000. Now all of a sudden the Model Y starts to be competitive with like a Toyota Highlander, especially when you consider like the cost of ownership. So there's a lot of big things going here that are going to go favorable for Tesla. And these other car companies are in deep trouble. And none of these media are talking about how bad this recession is going to be because they're in denial about the recession. None of them are talking about how bad this recession is going to be for Ford and General Motors and Volkswagen and Toyota. It's going to be bad. They're going to get a bloodbath. And yeah, they're probably going to get bailed out. But, with those bailouts come with strings. It's going to be even harder for them to compete after the bailouts than it is now. Not all of Tesla's problems are Musk's making. COVID-related production days in China. Struggled to ramp up production at its new facilities in Austin, Texas, and Berlin. No, it hasn't. They're succeeding in ramping production. This is, again, you're just lying. Giga Texas and Giga Berlin were both at 3,000 vehicle a week run rates recently. I just showed you the tweet earlier that they're ramping production to 4680 cells. There's lots of great news going on here. The Federal Reserve's steady increases in interest rates and the looming prospect of a recession have also dampened Tesla's fortunes. On Twitter, Musk has repeatedly blamed the Fed for Tesla's stock swoon. Not exactly, but Musk has talked about the Federal Reserve's behavior affecting the economy. And he talked about it like, where's the mention about the other car companies on that? They're going to get hit. Like, how does that get left out of the story? Analysts and investors I talked to said these were side issues. Tesla's Musk and Musk is Tesla. So these guys are taking the position, like, and here's my take on this. I just want to say this. Okay, Chinese customers don't care what Elon is saying on Twitter about Joe Biden or pronouns. European customers don't care what Elon's saying about pronouns on Twitter. Republican customers in America don't care. Independent voters don't really care. Now, the Democratic Party voters, okay, some of them. So let's say it's 5% of Democrat voters that are that passionate that they're actually going to stop buying Tesla cars. When you work that out over Tesla's global market share, it's like 1%. That's not significant. But the Federal Reserve raising interest rates by like 3 percentage points, raising car payments from $300 to $400, do you think that doesn't have a bigger impact than, oh, I don't like Elon's tweets? I mean, a huge chunk of the population is watching the Kardashians and 90 Day Fiance and Tom Brady throwing a football and Steph Curry shooting a basketball. He's hurt now, but he'll get better. Uh, but apparently Elon is the driving force. But Elon has been publicly vocal for a long time, and Tesla sales keep going up and up and up. So why wasn't it a problem before? Dan Ives at Wedbush Securities or Wedbush Securities is critical. Tesla spends almost nothing on advertising. Yeah, but Elon has 120 million followers on Twitter, and Tesla has 38 million followers on Twitter, and they get a lot of bang for their buck because it's free for that. Any alteration in Musk's cultural standing will affect the company's standing too. Musk's time running Twitter has been a massive brand destruction for Musk and Tesla, I've said. You know what else is first of all, to the extent that Elon's brand has been tarnished, it's outlets like the New York Times and the Los Angeles Times. Los Angeles Times has been bashing Elon for years what's his name? Russ Mitchell, been bashing Elon for years. Um, these guys have been attacking Elon's character and forever. Where was the coverage of the Neuralink event where Elon's trying to cure brain disease? Why doesn't that get coverage? Why is what about space, all the great accomplishments SpaceX is having? Why isn't Elon getting credit for that in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the LA Times? It's because they hate him and they're not really journalists. They're not unbiased journalists. I call the reason I named this channel The Daily Lie was a reflection on the New York Times. It's a reflection on the media, that the media is just constantly lying to us. So let's go on. It's not impossible to shake off these problems. Musk has pledged to step down as Twitter's chief executive as soon as he finds a replacement. Look, if the problem is that Elon is um, tweeting bad things on Twitter, then whether he's CEO of Twitter or not has nothing to do with it, right? That's just you talking, right? That's not something that Elon's. It doesn't change Elon's supposedly polarizing tweets. And Elon has said he's going to stay on at Twitter and work on things. He also said that this hasn't affected work at Tesla. Tesla still enjoys some advantage over rivals. No kidding. Especially its network of already 40,000 chargers around the world, making Teslas easier to juice up than other EVs. It's not just that there's 40,000 chargers; it's that they work better, as we just talked about from Kyle Connor's thing. But the federal government plans to spend billions installing chargers across the country, most likely eroding Tesla's lead. You don't think Tesla's going to take advantage of those billions? And it doesn't matter how many chargers you put up if they don't work. Tesla's chargers work. They work well. They're easy to use. Tesla's in-car software makes it easy to navigate using the chargers. Tesla's software is a huge edge. Doesn't talk about that. Especially its network of chargers. Like that's the only advantage Tesla has. The cars are more efficient. Tesla cars are more efficient. Tesla cars have more range. Tesla cars have better performance. Tesla cars are better made. Tesla makes its cars at lower cost. They have higher margins because they're able to manufacture their vehicles at lower cost. They're able to sell them for more because they add more value. It's like things like autopilot are just absolutely amazing. The the in-car software is amazing. It's no comparison. Colin Rush, an analyst at Oppenheimer, pointed out that Tesla also enjoys a multi-year lead in certain EV technologies, invested deeply in advanced battery design, more efficient manufacturing processes, areas which its rivals are only just getting started. Good point. Still, Rush recently downgraded his investment test for Tesla stock price, citing increasingly negative sentiment towards Musk. Okay. A lot of people think their cars as a way to signify a kind of identity, Rush told me, and the Tesla brand and what it signifies has come to mean a few more things than it did before. So this is people just telling stories. Like all I can say is, like everybody can tell their anecdote. I went out and talked to somebody and blah, blah, blah. We know that Tesla has the highest brand loyalty of every car company in the country, like 20 points higher than Lexus, which is number 2. So there's lots of great stuff happening. So this is just all nonsense. And all right. So let's cover, I think we covered that. And I just wanted to break down that article. But let me talk about something else that I wanted to talk about in this video. And if you are triggered, if you are, well, I don't think this isn't particularly partisan. There's this phenomenon that I've noticed for a while in politics and life in general of people people claiming a sort of victim status.